The naval invasion of western Honshu had failed. The defense of the Kii Peninsula had failed. Offensives by Takeda and Imagawa forces had failed. The coalition was brought to a standstill, and now the Otomo could begin to move. As their forces gathered for a major offensive into the Owari-Mino region, a detachment under Kurakawa Nagamori defeated the Kitabatake clan and began the process of swatting down the last armies that threatened Otomo flanks. Far away in Kyushu, the shogun Yoshiaki received a long-expected visitor. Right on time. Say what you want, I am ready for it. Such sour hopes. I see you are disciplined in your disobedience. Actually, I agree, father. Whereas Yoshishige takes a vain pride in it, profits from it, and makes his mad whims into a shared curse by your authority. I expected such an outburst, but perhaps a little later into the day. Tell me, why do you think I called you here all those moons ago? I have your words in writing. You did not trust me with the war I single-handedly won for you. Do not overstep your bounds, boy. You did nothing of the sort. However, it is also true that you are far from inept when it comes to warfare. Your judgment and cunning when dealing with the Nanban have proven vital to our cause. Their weapons and tactics are our strength, and of the few who have mastered them, you are perhaps the best. Thank you. You are here because I need to see what you have become. I need to see the strength of your eyes, the aura of your character, and the future that you would bring to my people. Well then, I hope I can meet your expectations for that. Or rather, I am sure I can. Then there is much to discuss, and as I'm sure you will quickly gather, it was important that other interested parties did not foresee such plots. Understand that, and I suspect you will feel quite absolved. Hello there, welcome to another episode of Barbarian Masters. We're currently just at the end of the second attempt by the Seki to retake the territory just recently lost by the Kitabatake. They did break into the castle this time, but we had a spear wall on the inside that easily defeated their infantry, and most of their infantry was already gone by this point in the battle anyway, so really not much happened. There was then a very long delay because their commanders wanted to come in and sacrifice themselves inside the castle as well. But finally, once they got close, I shot them with some arrows and off they went. The battle was over. So another relatively easy win. Now the Seki clan has pretty much nothing left, although we can't move out to counterattack them right now because the other clan just to our south immediately starts moving towards us. So Kurakawa's about to face the same sort of thing again, unfortunately. For now, we're going to focus on our main attack on the front line. We've got Yoshishige besieging one of the Takeda's castles. It's a big battle there. It would be 4-on-4 in a castle assault, so a little bit tricky. But I realise we can make things easier for ourselves by doing a preliminary battle over here against the Saito. Their army just outside the castle is the one that's reinforcing the battle with Yoshishige, so we need to attack that principally, and we might as well take this opportunity to fight the other one at the same time, because it will be drawn out of their castle. So now we're ending up with a 3-on-2 army battle. We have the advantage, and as long as we get a big win, we may be able to just wipe out their clan entirely. Both armies form up with all of their reinforcements and face off against each other, with the enemy mostly putting their force on top of a hill since they are the defender. We still can potentially force them off it though, because we have lots and lots of gun troops in this army. So what we're going to do to start things off is skirmish with the enemy and see if they will advance. Right now we're being hit by lots of arrows, which are conveniently going over the top of my gunners and hitting the spearmen behind, and they're coming from some enemy onobushi who are a nice high priority target to attack with guns, since they're very difficult to take down in melees. They were just engaging with these two units on their own. The rest of their archers are still waiting further back, so that makes it easy for us to focus these particular units down and get rid of them. And once that's done, we're going to want to try and do the same thing to the rest of their archers by drawing units forward one at a time and gunning them down. It's going to take a while, but by the time we do all of it, we will have tilted the battle quite far in our favour before things even really get started.
I wish you wouldn't shadow me like that, General. What are you looking for? Only following orders, my lord. Then what is Lord Yoshishige looking for? For men he can trust to rule his domain, of course. He doesn't even know if he can trust me then, after all I've done. Someone once told me that when this is all over, there will be no reward for the loyal. Seems like he was right. What do you hold yourself loyal to, my lord? If you want to succeed, you must pledge yourself to the powerful. Even the peasantry understand it. They bow before the Lord as soon as they hear of his existence. More accurately, they bow to the church and to its patron. I'm getting old, General. I have a place in my heart for old loyalties. I serve the Otomo family, and will do what is best for them, whatever that is. A smooth transfer of power would benefit the new shogunate greatest, would you not agree, my lord? That depends. I suspect that if things continue as they are, the power will be transferred to... I don't know. General, forget this. Please just return to your station. The enemy will have had enough of this soon. Of course, my lord. I am done here anyway.
After destroying most of their ranged units, I used some light cav to bait the enemy army forwards to get them off the hill, since they weren't just attacking us on their own like I thought they might, and this was pretty effective. Their whole army chases my one unit of cav back behind my army, so now we'll get the engagement on our little hill, although most of our army actually isn't on the hill because it's too small. A nice bit of pursuit from that enemy cav unit. Their attempts to get to my gunners lead them right onto the front of a long Yari Ashigaru wall. They're going to be wiped out there. And now in come the infantry, also just charging the front of our Yari walls. Not all of them are long Yari, but still, they'll do okay in these melees. The enemy troops aren't all that good. Here are some of them coming right up the hill to engage a particularly difficult fight there. Good for them. And we just need to wait until they're all in position so we can start doing our outflanking maneuvers and such. Terada's army on our left facing the exact same scenario, although he has quite a few actual units like samurai so they can charge in to engage as well. And since the enemy are charging us with loads of Ashigaru, that's going to be very nice. We'll just cut through them in places with our heavy samurai and make some gaps in the line. There's a bit of a separate engagement happening on this other hill, where my cav are fighting some enemy light cav. We've got Yari cav, so we'll win that. But a few Katana Ashigaru have gone into the fight as well. I think we're still okay, and Terada's going to take a load of our pirate forces over to rear attack the enemy there, so that should seal things up. He's got other units there, outflanking the enemy on the extreme left, and here in the centre, or centre right, Kubikawa's men are just breaking through the enemy as they fall back, so now looks like we are going to be victorious. Our cav on the right find the enemy general, or a enemy general at least, hanging around, so we'll take him down easy. This was the worst part of the fight right here, where our katana cav were fighting the enemies. Losses for both sides, but since the enemy army has also been defeated, the enemy will now rout there and will win the fight in the end. So that's going to be the end of that. A relatively easy, decisive victory, since we had all those guns, and since the enemy were willing to attack our superior position. That went a lot better than it could have, so the plan to secure some of the front line and make our other attacks easier should be coming to fruition now. There's the result of the battle. We absolutely annihilated them, lost something like 600 men, killing over 4,000, and no units lost on our side despite a near miss with some of our katana cav. The enemy did get away with a few intact units, but most of the stuff inside the castle is gone and their garrison wasn't very big. That means we can attack them right now using some advanced cav with Terada to make it happen. The reinforcements outside die and the settlement will fall. Now my original plan here was to occupy it because it is on the front line and facing off against the enemy, but in the short term it would be handy to have them be a vassal instead, since that came up as an option, just because then we don't have to leave an army here and we can focus all of our forces on attacking just to the south to even out our front line and then maybe come back over here later. So we're going to go ahead with that plan. There are still 3 armies that Yoshishige is facing, so it's a 4-on-3, still not ideal. But the longer we wait, the more things will shift in our favour because we've got more moves to make, so we'll leave that siege going for now. Next we have to face a couple of battles actually with the Kuki. These are the guys in the very corner of the peninsula we're on, and they're coming to attack Kurokawa, and this is exactly the same thing that happened with the Seki. They've got 2 armies and they're going to attack one at a time, and both of them don't have much chance of winning this battle on their own. This time I've got firebomb throwers, so that made it a bit more fun to defeat these guys, just blowing them up as they walked around the outside of the castle. But overall there was no challenge, so that's the first battle. Basically nothing happened. We completely annihilated them, lost a couple of hundred, killed a couple of thousand, and then the second army comes in. This army was absolutely packed full of generals, which actually makes it very unsuitable for a siege assault because the AI uses its cav as a second wave, so the first wave will now be quite small. For some reason our gates are open in this battle. I think the damage done by the firebomb throwers was apportioned to the gates incorrectly by the game or something. And here's what basically happens when the enemy attack. Their Ashigaru climb up the wall, they rout about halfway up, and then they just all die. So really the first wave was nothing. It was very much diminished by all of those losses. A few of them started coming into the interior of the castle. I was willing to let them, but my firebomb throwers very cleverly destroyed the bit of wall that they were taking cover on, losing half of their unit. It also killed a load of my spearmen as well, so that was unfortunate. Needed to micromanage them a bit more, I think, because they do just throw their bombs at the wall once the enemy are climbing up the wall. Not very useful. Anyway, with the gates being open, many enemy units just rushed right into the castle rather than climbing, so they didn't get so demoralized and defeated by the losses from going up the wall. So we did have to kill them in a more traditional fashion, letting them run onto the front of our pike wall, and they were willing to do that, so not that much happened, and the battle eventually ends as the enemy generals start climbing into the battle but then decide not to go for it. Another easy decisive victory, and the 4th consecutive one for Kurokawa here at this castle. He's been put under a lot of pressure, but over a long time, so it's actually been fine. If everything had attacked together, that would all have been a different story. In this case, because the Kuki didn't have very much garrison in their only settlement, I'm just going to move out, taking Kurokawa and a small strike team to go and finish their clan off, so we don't have to worry about them anymore. Their forces retreat into our territory, then they disappear because their faction's dead. If they'd still been in their territory, they might have still been there actually. And we're going to vassalize them so we can go straight back to the castle, and that hopefully will be the end of that. They're right in the corner there, so they're very unlikely to see any action as our vassal, but hopefully they won't cause any hassle either. Here's a rare failure for an assassination for one of my geishas. I'm doing a couple of geisha assassinations per turn, and like naval battles, I don't really commentate on that. It's just happening all the time to keep enemy agents off, but every now and again something bad does happen like that. Now back with the Takeda situation, I'm now pushing the nearest enemy army away using my overwhelming local force, so that this brings the number of armies Yoshishige is facing down from 3 to 2, so it's a 4-on-2, but we can still make things better. We can send cavalry out to immediately besiege Nagashima Fortress right here. So that will keep that army from taking part in battles to the north, and because Terada is in reinforcement range of both, he can come back to fight in this quick auto-resolve. Now finally a 4-on-1, that stack's going down, and the castle is captured for Yoshishige. And I noted that the castle was completely wrecked by the assault, so maybe the auto-resolve takes into account the fact that we had loads of cannons, so if we had actually fought that, we would have just sat there and demolished the entire castle at range and not necessarily made much of an assault. Anyway, with that done, the Takeda's front line is now looking weaker and weaker. We're about to have a major breakthrough, I think. I'll leave that siege going, since I wouldn't mind them sallying, so we could fight the other army to the south in the field. We'll also reinforce our vassals' position, because they may be attacked by the nearby army. But our defences are looking good, and the enemies are looking very bad. I think a major breakthrough is going to be on the cards in a moment here.
Amid the burning ruins of the old world, the new springs, alive and vigorous. In the scorched fields, the people run and jump for joy, for they look not to the ashen ground, but the brilliance of heaven. The demons, the chaos, the malice of the past, God will wipe them away, in exchange for mere faith, a resource even the most desperate people hold in vast reserves. That is why I know that the new age will be unlike anything seen before. A new, powerful shogun, and a timeless, compassionate god. A rule such as this can be nothing less than eternal. Let the great cycle of history end with me, and let all who follow the light forget what darkness even was. I will show you the way. I have brought peace, justice, freedom, and security to my new empire. Now I extend a hand to you, the children of the Lord, to bathe in his cleansing waters and join me in the new paradise we shall create.
In a new turn now, Kurokawa needs to move up to start attacking the Seki. Can't make it this time. And actually they're not actually that weak after their recent defeat to us, because the garrison in their castle is very big. So still a potentially difficult siege there for him to deal with, but we may be able to help him out with someone else later on. Our forces here are going to focus on attacking the Takeda for now. I wanted to push that army there away from the castle, but the place it retreated to is actually still pretty near the castle, so we failed there, unfortunately, having to leave some forces behind to control public order. As usual, that's going to be a constant problem as we try to break open this front line. Here's me confirming that, yes indeed, that second army is still in reinforcement range, so we don't have the easiest situation here. Still though, the balance bar is pretty far in our favour. I'm just going to auto-resolve it anyway, rather than waste any more time trying to get those guys out of the battle to make it even easier. Overall, we're still going to lose very, very little, and that was just the end of that. We move right on in and shall occupy the castle. And as I've already been mentioning, this is actually Nagashima Fortress, which is a pretty famous castle. I wonder if there was a unique map for that we just missed out on by skipping that attack. Comes with lots of nice buildings that we may be able to use to improve our army, so that's all good. Now the Chosakabe are once again trying to cheekily naval invade eastern Kyushu, and we're pushing them away. We can never manage to actually defeat their fleet, so it's just sailing around nearby, and we're constantly trying to stop it getting to that beach right there, which I think is what it's trying to do, and that effort will just have to continue. The Takeda appear to be reinforcing. A new army appears from the east, and other units are wandering about, so they might be trying to set up new defences, but we're just going to keep attacking before they do, really. Kobayakawa moves forward to start a new siege, a full stack inside and reinforcements outside. Again, not the best situation, and we're just going to leave that siege going to see if anything happens. What actually happened instead, though, was that the Takeda started putting pressure on our vassal. We do have an army nearby to try and save them, but I only anticipated one Takeda army attacking. Now that two are coming in, I thought there's probably no chance that we can actually hold the castle's capture point before our reinforcements make a dent in the enemy. Also, interestingly, notes that the enemy army is absolutely filled with gunners. They've got a really gun-heavy army. I think we've inspired the enemy to some degree to try and copy our tactics, so I didn't support the attack and our vassal fell immediately. The Seki, for some reason, come outside the castle to attack Kurokawa, who's now also supported by Daihoji, who's starting to advance up from behind him. So that makes things very easy. Now the attack on the castle will be a bit simpler. Not really sure what the AI was trying to do with that particular move. We can also see the Imagawa have moved up a stack, and it's now standing next to Kobyukawa, so our attack there is getting even harder. At least the Seki can go right down now. We'll come up with 2 stacks and just annihilate them in this auto-resolve. Still a pretty hefty garrison, but if they'd also had their regular units inside there, that probably would have benefited them. Never mind. With that done, our front line is going to look much, much neater and very short as well. We're going to be concentrating so much force on the front line that it really doesn't matter what the AI have in the area. We're about to be able to throw 4 armies into virtually any battle and still have other armies sitting around in reserve. Right here, the attack on this castle with Kobyukawa is still looking difficult, and I didn't really want to make this attack because even though we probably would be able to do it, I thought because it's a balanced engagement the enemy might sally and give us a more simplistic field battle where we can use our numbers a bit more effectively. I also do want to try and take back Inuyama, the place that our vassal just lost to the Takeda, so that's going to be Terada's new mission. I'm going to have him and a support army waiting around to see if an opportunity arises, trying to hide my forces, which probably won't work, but if it does work, the Takeda might happen to walk off somewhere and give us a free shot at an attack. Now the Imagawa army actually attacks Kobyukawa, so we're effectively getting a siege sally here, just with the enemy armies in a slightly different order. 2 of the armies there are actually very small, so it's really 4 of our armies against about 2.5 of theirs, and we're the defender, and I think our units are better, so this should be a chance to embarrass both the Takeda and the Imagawa at once and complete our breakthrough.
That's a strange place for a battle line. It is a strong place, my lord. I have lured the Imagawa and Takeda main divisions towards the cliffs. We'll hide the Tanegashima troops in the trees and ambush the enemy once they try to get past us. Well then, you've got it all planned out, don't you? I want you to focus on leading your hidden troops. I will take overall command here. So be it, my lord. I will ensure a continuous rain of shot hits the enemy to support your moves. Wait, General. Tell me, for the sake of safety, what sort of moves you are expecting. The enemy will circumvent the cliffs on both sides. Having battle lines formed up to the rear of our flanks will allow us to sweep the enemy away once they get past my ambush. Ah, good, good. We are of the same mind, then. That is exactly what I had planned. Expect precisely that. Yes, my lord. Good luck. I have the Lord, not luck. Don't forget to have your men say their prayers before we begin.
We wait and allow the enemy to charge our prepared position. The Takeda, who are arriving first, are leading with lots of gunners of their own. They've got lots of samurai gunners, heavy troops here, who I thought might start dueling with my guys up on the ridge, but they're actually running forwards because they want to fire at my melee infantry instead. Possibly a better choice because my long Yari Ashigaru are particularly vulnerable to such ranged attacks. What they're not vulnerable to are cavalry charges, and the enemy do want to do that as well. That's probably not going to get them very far. I think they might have wanted to sneak around and get to my guns, but they failed that. And now, because the guns aren't really being targeted by the enemy's ranged units, they're just going to be sitting here, blasting away throughout the whole battle and racking up the kills and the morale shocks as well. Those cavalry give up, and now it's time for these Nodaichi samurai to make their charge, but because of the hill, they can't really do anything. They stroll at a snail's pace into the Yari wall, then immediately decide this fight's probably not going to go very well and start getting out of there. The ranged fire, though, still being a problem. We can't really stop them from hitting us with arrows and shot because we have this static formation. The enemy should just hold off all of their melee troops and shoot us exclusively. So I'm going to have to start advancing forwards to meet the enemy's ranged troops. In particular, those firebomb throwers need to be dealt with because our tightly packed Yari walls are going to be easy prey for them. So I form up with a load of samurai on the flank and start attacking. Since the enemy have committed quite a lot of their melee troops to attacking our initial position up on the cliffs, most of these ranged units are not well guarded, so once we can get some samurai in amongst them, Not only will it stop them firing at us, but we should get a pretty good trade and inflict plenty of damage here. Although that said, they do have samurai gunners which are decent on their own, and they have onobushi here who are better than the katana samurai I've sent against them, so it is going to be a bit of a struggle. We're not going to have a one-sided fight here. We'll probably lose a lot, but at least they're still not firing. That's going to save lots of lives. Bit of a cavalry fight going on the edge of the battlefield there, not too important. Really, we just need to push back this blob of Takeda forces that is pressing against our long Yari walls, and if things continue as they are, we'll be able to do that, because that's a fight the enemy probably can't win. Now the Imagawa are starting their attack a little bit later on the other side of the cliffs, where we've got plenty of fresh units ready to receive them. It's the exact same setup. We've got guns hitting the enemy as they arrive, and since the enemy are forced to go behind the cliff to get to us, I've just got my pike walls ready to receive them. Plus, we've got an additional line of troops that can charge into the enemy's flank, including there are Portuguese troops who will just annihilate those Ashigaru. While that was going on, the Takeda's main body of infantry has been defeated over here, so everything will surge forwards to take out the rest of their units, mostly just the ranged stuff there, and their whole army is going to disappear very soon. The Imagawa's initial attacking units are also falling back. It was all Ashigaru, and once they face our samurai and just our general numbers in the area, they realise they have no chance. They run. These archers decide to stay and receive this massive heavy infantry charge. They're just going to be absolutely annihilated, very dangerous, and really the Imagawa are doomed. The units that they hadn't engaged with yet decide they're not going to take part in this fight and just get out of here now. Probably the right decision. And with that, the Imagawa army is going to be history. Just like the Takeda one, we wiped the floor with the enemy in this battle. We had every advantage: terrain, numbers, and troop quality. They didn't stand much of a chance. So that's the end of that. We killed well over 5,000 enemies, losing something like 800 on our side, but no full units. And we did destroy each individual enemy army here, so that means not only can they not replenish from their survivors, but we get the castle this turn as well, so we'll get replenishment and probably will end up with very few losses overall indeed. The perfect result, exactly what we needed. Next, the Ishida attack the Takeda at Inuyama. I think they expected me to follow them into this attack, but I certainly don't want to. We don't have an advantage, and the enemy castle is full of gunners, so that would be really hard to make an attack against. I say no, but I think the Ishida tried anyway and just got completely destroyed. I am though going to help them with this little battle. They're having a rebellion, so I'll send some troops to make sure they stay in power at least. So anyway, with that last battle won, we now have the breakthrough on the front line. It's time to press forwards and essentially secure ourselves a win in this war. The last of the Takeda's allied fiefs on the front lines had fallen, and now it was their own territory under contention. Their efforts at defense were futile. Otomo armies blasted their way into and past some of Japan's most fortified positions, and killed or captured some of the Takeda's best troops. While popular resistance to the Otomo's foreign ways provided a strong dampening effect on their advance, the fact that very little now stood between the shogun and the opposite end of the country was obvious to all involved. That's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Very special thanks to the OfficiallyDevin patrons for making this happen. And I hope you'll join me to see our generals turn our breakthrough into a land grab as everyone races to land the last blow against the enemy in the next episode of Barbarian Masters.